Market definition is typically where we start, not necessarily in the guidelines anymore in 2010. It moved more towards a focus towards the competitive effects. And I think, generally speaking, that's where practitioners, agencies, and economists like to live, is the actual effects of various policies. But the reality is that these decisions on antitrust have to be made at the commission level, at the judicial level. And at that level, you need some type of coherent story of the competition. And so that's where market definition comes into play. Greg Worden is a big proponent of that. Others aren't so favorable towards market definition, but the reality is it serves a very useful purpose in setting the stage, if you will, for the competition and the alleged claim. The point of market definition, however, shouldn't be definition per se. So for example, if we, I often hear, is Facebook a monopoly? And, my response is, a monopoly over what? Because unless we know precisely the issue that we're worried about, are they purchasing another firm? Are they engaging in a privacy violation? Is it a specific type of unilateral conduct that we think is perhaps in violation of the Sherman Act? All those are different types of questions. And even within those questions, you're going to have different set of facts. And so I know it's a boring answer, but market definition is very fact specific and very claim specific. And so if we try to carve these markets before we even begin, we've basically given the answer. If you've effectively said Facebook is a monopolist and defined the market around Facebook, there's very little you can do, because a lot of the presumptions built in antitrust favor the plaintiff when you have a presumption of a monopolist. And so the game is over before it even begins. And so that's why market definition is so fought over. Arguably, that's one of the difficulties of implementing it, because once you make that decision on market definition, it is not only setting the stage, it's effectively determining the ending. And so the more we can move away from that, the better. Alec, Neil, they've talked earlier about how when we're in a regime, it can be more predictable, administrable. And that's what Commissioner Wilson talked about. That's one of the advantages if we hone in on the consumer welfare standard, is that we can improve our tools and our predictability of not only defining markets, but our competitive effects. If we're just arguing if they're a monopoly or not, and whether then we need to break them up and regulate them, our focus is completely away from the tools that would actually benefit from answering that question in the first place, rather than assuming the answer.